Okie dokie. Hello, everyone. We'll just wait for some people to roll in. It's only just gone 11 o'clock now. Oh, looks like everyone's starting to come in now. Just give it a few more seconds. And it's all being recorded anyway, so it looks like we've got quite a few who are in right now. So hello and welcome to our webinar today on governing AI for financial management. I am Lee Patterson. I am the CEO of Pilbara Group, and today I'm joined by Shaji Obadullah, Head of AI and CX at Intelligent, Harish Suresh, the Senior Partner Solutions Engineer at Snowflake, and Adam Gallard, the Chief Product Officer right here at Pilbara Group. So we have quite a bit to get through today, so we'll go through each presentation and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. But feel free to use the Q&A functionality that's in Teams as we go, and I'll endeavour to try and answer questions on the fly. If not, we'll bring up the questions at the end. Now, we also want to make the Q&A interactive, so I have enabled everyone's video and microphones, but just remember to mute your microphones during the presentation. So with that, I will hand over to Shaji from Intelligent to kick things off. And I'll stop presenting that slide. Okay, all yours, Shaji.
Thanks for that intro, Lee. Let me just get the slides on. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining this session today. As Lee mentioned, my name's Shaji. I'm the Head of AI and CX at Intelligent Group, and really keen to be presenting today. I just wanted to start by saying, we're trusted by quite a few Australian organisations you can see here, and they're quite broad from a vertical standpoint. So we've got fin services, we've got retail. You can even see some sporting teams there. Some you may like, some may you're not like as well. But yeah, we're quite broad from a vertical standpoint. In terms of how we work with our clients, it's really focused on those commercial drivers. So what's key for our clients? Are they profit driven or revenue driven, or is it more cost focused? So based on the actual use case or scenario that we're working with, that's our foundational starting point. After that, we'll start to understand their operating model in terms of how they actually work. Do they have a centralized way of working or federated, or what that might be? I'm just getting some feedback if everyone can mute. Thanks. And then we flow into the value engineering side. So making predictions, but also making decisions off the back of that. So that prescriptive and that predictive side of things. If we delve into that next layer in, we're real advocates of being strategic led. We've met many clients that have not gone down that path, bought a cool piece of tech, and then try to reverse engineer their strategy. And we find that that doesn't really work in terms of getting an ROI. So it's definitely strategic driven. Also, what we're seeing is having that governance discussion earlier on. So it's definitely, we're seeing a shift to the left. The earlier you start that governance discussion in heavily regulated verticals, the better it is. Then if we delve a little bit further into that green layer, that's how we actually provide value to our clients. So it's that data foundational piece, but then it's also analytics or AI. And then all of that encompasses itself in terms of producing value for our clients. So this talks to the core strengths when it comes to intelligence. So there's three key areas that we focus on. One is around data advisory, then it's data platform, and then finally it's data management. When it comes to data advisory, that's really around providing a current state assessment in terms of where our client sits at that point in time. We provide gaps, potential risks, and a bit of a roadmap, and that can take on different sort of lenses. It could be more strategic led, it could be op model, it could be technology. So that can be quite broad in that aspect. The next one is the data platform. So that's designing and actually building the data solution to provide insights for our clients. And then the final one is around that data management piece. So it's building that capability with governance in place, leading to a reliable, ethical, and safe solution. So you can see it's a bit of a balancing act between the last two in terms of having an innovative, fast-moving platform, but also that's grounded in governance. So it's definitely a bit of a balancing act there. In terms of how we engage with our clients, there's three different approaches that we use, and it's really driven by providing, so it's really based on the business objective, the urgency, and the maturity of that tech team. And so there's different ways that we work with our clients. So the first is advisory. So that's where we plan and provide a roadmap in terms of, okay, we'll do the piece up front, and then the client will go off and actually do the implementation themselves. Next, it's an integrated consulting. So that's where we'll provide blended teams, and we'll collaborate quite closely with the client on the actual delivery of the solution. And then finally, that's what we refer to as projects, where we provide consultants and architects actually implement and deliver the solution and work with the client quite closely as well on that front. Okay, so next we'll delve into the data governance and quality side of things. So really when it comes to right-sizing that governance, it's really based on maturity, risk appetite, and complexity. You can see on the left-hand side here, we've got some key principles or guiding principles that we work towards. And I'll just run through them now. So the first one is around strategic oversight. So that's using recognized standards as the foundation to define roles, responsibilities, and processes. Next is around lifestyle governance. So that's about applying controls across the data creation, usage, sharing, retention, and the disposal of the data as well. Next is around risk proportionate controls. So that's around tailored governance effort to the sensitivity, criticality, and also complexity as well when it comes to specific use cases. And then there's responsible by design. So embed accountability, transparency, and stewardship. And then finally, it's integrated with the BAU. So aligned governance with existing business, digital, and compliance processes to reduce friction and enable adoption. So that's from a principle perspective. So when you bring it into action, then we have a list of practices there. So the first one is around assigning clear data and AI governance roles. So that's, for example, like your data owner, your data steward across all the key domains. Next, it's also use recognized assessment tools and frameworks to evaluate data quality, compliance, and also how critical those data points are. Maintain clear documentation. So we find that's very, very important from the data sources, the governance decisions, and also the data flows. Build governance checkpoints. So that's having human in the loop and having oversight in that data lifecycle. So it's not just at a single point, it's through that end-to-end process, ensuring that there is oversight there. Track data quality. So when it comes to issue resolution and also escalation through defined reporting mechanisms, and then participate in industry forums as well and networking opportunities as well. And then adhering to those, you can see that the swim lane at the bottom, it encourages adoption, it reduces overhead, and then it supports compliance and ethics as well. Next, we're going to delve into data quality and resilience. And so there's 4 key categories when we talk to that. So the first is around purpose and outcome. So the platform delivers, it's key that the platform delivers consistent and compliant data that meets expectations. So that's really around building transparency, accuracy, and control to drive trust. Because at the end of the day, trust is very critical. Next, when it comes to data quality, it definitely isn't a one and done piece of work. It's an ongoing effort. So that's pertaining to if there's new data, if there's updated data that comes through, or when regulatory or compliance changes need to be implemented as well. Next is around operational resilience. So that's really around testing and measuring and to drive that continuous improvement, and also provide backups and recovery and replication process that will align with things like CPS 230, and providing monitoring alerts that will detect if any issues arise. And then finally, there's the regulatory compliance and risk management. So that's woven really into that daily operations, and capture that data for audits, automate lineage, and also centralize access to logs. Next, we'll delve into the AI ethics and accountability. So here, so when it comes to embedding the ethics, there's a couple of key elements to that. The first is around institutionalizing AI ethics and providing a framework for that. So the first port of call for that is really tailoring an AI ethics charter. So that's grounded in the principles such as fairness, transparency, accountability, and privacy. And so that will align to recognized standards. So things like Australian government AI ethics principles, and also UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of AI, for example. And then putting that all together, it's around ensuring the ethical considerations are embedded into policy, procurement, and also design phases as well. When we jump to the next column, that's around that ethical design methodology. And I alluded to this before, but building in those checkpoints throughout that end-to-end process, just to ensure that it picks up any issues that, or compliance issues or anything else that might crop up. It's important to mandate ethical impact statements for new initiatives in financial planning and forecasting. It's really important to prioritize model being able to interpret models, should I say. So with generative AI, it can be a black box. So we want to work with our clients to provide a solution where it is explainable. So people that are even less technical are able to articulate how the solution got to that outcome. And whether it's in a position to be able to say, we don't have the information, right now, so we can't respond to it. So providing those guardrails as well. And then finally, it's really mandating those model documentation. So that's around the purpose, the inputs, the output, and the assumptions. It's really important, we find, to raise assumptions and risks earlier on, because you don't want to delve into delivery and then have issues like that crop up. So definitely easier or better to have those discussions earlier on. When we jump over to the guardrails, it's establish and implement a risk management process to surface and mitigate any risks. As I touched on earlier, setting up human in the loop to maintain that oversight across the end-to-end solution lifecycle. Important to test the AI models and solutions to gauge performance, and not only when it's deployed, but over time. So having that ability to monitor post-deployment is important. And then also being transparent with end users in terms of how their information is used, what decisions are made, and any sort of AI-generated content is there if that's part of the solution. Next, we'll go into accountability and oversight. So in terms of an accountability matrix, it's important to outline the ownership across each of the AI functions. So from a data ownership standpoint, that could be the data office or the finance data steward. Next, it's who owns the model. Is that the team that actually developed it? Maybe it's a data scientist or developers in-house, or it could be a third-party vendor. And then finally, it's that decision ownership. So who actually is making those decisions? So is it financial executives responsible for applying those insights, or do you have input from other areas of the business as well? So those roles responsibilities should be clearly defined in the AI governance policies. In terms of the AI ethics and risk review committee, it's important to establish that committee, and typically we see that that's reporting into the CFO. So some of the responsibilities of that committee include things like reviewing AI use cases, specifically for risk. So evaluating that risk component, and ideally that should be done in the design phase. As mentioned before, you don't want to get into build and then find there's this long list of new risks that have surfaced. So you definitely want to have that discussion earlier on. Monitor the AI solution post-deployment for any undesirable outcomes, and then produce a transparency report on the AI applications within financial use cases. Next, we'll cover off the organizational readiness. So on the left-hand side here, we've provided a bit of a blueprint in terms of what that council could look like. Again, this is just a blueprint, so this can be tweaked and adjusted based on the client's needs and requirements, but typically we'll see the chair as the CFO, and likely core members will probably have the chief data officer, head of procurement, finance analytics manager, and so on and so forth. In terms of the mandate for this group, you've got the strategic oversight. So that's approval of AI use cases. So how do you surface use cases? How do you prioritize use cases for where you want to prioritize the team's effort? So that's one in terms of the use case. Next is overseeing that risk management and compliance and ethical implementation. And then finally, it's a set institutional priorities for AI investment and data capability development. Next, from a governance and policy settings standpoint, it's develop and maintain the AI governance framework for finance and resource planning, endorse data quality standards and model audit requirements as well. And then finally, approve AI performance metrics and periodic evaluations as well. So that should be a regular occurrence. And then last but not least, it's the operation and enablement. So champion pilot programs for predictive analytics, cost optimization, and also resource allocation as well. Coordinate cross-functional collaboration between finance and IT and other areas within the business. And then also it's monitor implementation progress and report to executive leadership or the council committee. Finally, in terms of the actual output, the actual artifacts that are created, there's the charter that I mentioned previously. There's a risk register for the models that have and tools that have been developed. Annual AI report, so that talks to the wins that and results that the client has had, and also the adoption impact as well. And then finally, it's the ethical and compliance audit reports. So last but not least, so this is around building that capacity and culture within the organization. So the first one is around the AI data literacy. So we've delivered persona-based training covering foundational AI understanding, prompt engineering, and also governance. So what we find is the client doesn't just have this great solution and tool, but they also know how to use it and have that trust and confidence that they're able to get the best out of the actual solution put forward. Next, it's around cross-functional collaboration. So bringing together a working group of people from different areas to work through use cases, and we encourage co-designing as well. Next, it's around that change management and comms. So AI readiness roadmap needs to be clearly defined, and that covers the key stakeholders, the support and training that's needed, and then how that flows into communications as well. And it's important to showcase success stories and wins that the client has had, even if it's quick wins, through a proof of concept, for example. And then finally, it's performance and incentives. So what are those metrics that you can provide for a team to strive towards in terms of using AI for their solutions, and then also aligning that for leadership to drive that adoption as well. And that is it from me. So I will stop sharing and then pass it back to Lee.
Excellent. Thanks, Shaji. Now over to Harish, if you can jump into your presentation.
Thank you, Lee. I'm going to share my screen and confirm that everyone can see it.
Yep, all good.
Perfect. I'll kick off then. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Harish. I'm from Snowflake, and I'm part of the Partner Solution Engineering team. My team is responsible for helping Snowflake partners align on the best approach to build out a solution on Snowflake. We typically engage with customers and partners who want to leverage consulting and data cloud product partners to drive business outcomes. And today I'm here to talk about how our platform is adding new capabilities to make AI more accessible to organizations while providing guardrails for safe use. So before we begin, I do have to put out a disclaimer. In today's presentation, I will be showing some forward-looking information about Snowflake's vision and roadmap. And while we're excited to share our direction, please keep in mind that product timelines can shift, and we always recommend making decisions based on the current capabilities of our platform. So with that, most of you would know that Snowflake is known in the industry as the AI and data cloud. We are a unified platform that lets you run a variety of workloads like ETL pipelines. You can build dashboards and analytics. You can use Snowflake for AI and machine learning use cases. And we also have a capability that makes it easy to build and distribute applications either internally within your organization or to other partners and customers. We do operate cross-cloud across AWS, Azure, and GCP, and we take great pride in being known as a platform that is easy to use, connected to a large ecosystem of technology and services partners, and we work hard to ensure that all of your data is secured in a safe and trusted way. Now, these days, we're hearing the term AI agents everywhere. There's considerable interest in the market, and it's primarily driven by the fact that every organization wants to make more information accessible for better decision making. These decision makers are constantly looking for insights about their businesses to stay competitive. And what we're seeing is that in most cases, the bottleneck happens to be the data analytics team that can't necessarily build the dashboards or reports quickly enough, and decision makers have to rely on partial information. So if you look at some of those questions on the slide, I'm sure many of you have reached out to your data teams to get some of these answers. And more often than not, that request gets logged in a Jira ticket somewhere, goes onto someone's sprint planning dashboard, and takes a couple of weeks before you get a response. And in that time, either the question is changed, or when you get the result, you'd like to slice and dice it a bit differently. And we find that the gap is that there's always the slow-moving process of getting those reports quickly enough for someone to make a decision in time. That's what's driving a lot of the agentic AI use cases that we're seeing on Snowflake. And to address that, this year we announced a new feature called Snowflake Intelligence. And this is our agentic AI solution that offers a new way to remove that bottleneck and makes all of your enterprise data available to all of the decision makers in your organization. And many of the features that you're going to be seeing on the slides today are already being used by Lee and Adam in a lot of products that are being built by the Pilbara Group. So I'm just going to tell you, how Snowflake is approaching agentic AI and how we think most organizations are going to adopt some of these features moving forward. So Snowflake Intelligence itself is a chat interface that is hosted at ai.snowflake.com. And our goal was to make data analytics as easy as asking a question to a data analyst using something like Slack or Teams. We want data teams to focus on building agents and connecting different data sources that power this capability. And data teams can now move away from doing smaller operational tasks like writing code, and they'll instead focus on refining semantic models, which are effectively ways to tell AI agents how to understand your enterprise data, how your business operates, or specifics about the way your data models have been set up. Interface looks very similar to many other tools you've seen in the market today, but what's really different about Snowflake Intelligence is the fact that it leverages our existing RBAC controls, which means when someone asks a question in Snowflake Intelligence, or if two people ask the exact same question, Snowflake Intelligence will respect the permissions given to each user and then give them an appropriate response without you needing to build any of these systems yourself. So what's different in Snowflake Intelligence is the kind of controls that we apply with data governance under the hood. Because when you load any data inside Snowflake, you leverage our role-based access controls, which lets you assign users to roles, and those roles have permissions to access different tables and databases. What we've seen is many other AI tools will typically ask you to build a separate governance layer to manage, who can access what. But with Snowflake Intelligence, we just leverage the existing one that you've already built around your Snowflake data platform. Additionally, if your organization is using an identity provider like Okta or Microsoft Entra ID, we can leverage the same system for user and role assignments. So you spend less time building duplicate and inconsistent governance models and just leverage the existing organizational governance that you have. Now, as useful as AI is, we've also started to discover the impact of AI hallucination, which is a term that most people would have come across already. And what happens is that when large language models are asked about topics that aren't part of their original training data set, many times they make up answers or they confidently fabricate information as facts. And this has become a major risk for many organizations who want to use AI-powered assets for decision making. And this is something that's impacting all organizations across all industries. And we're seeing a lot of research and development going into a lot of the frontier labs to find ways to address this. The models are improving almost every month, and we're seeing newer models handle some of this better than others. But Snowflake gives you some controls to handle some of these risks. Now, the first thing that Snowflake Intelligence does is we show you the thinking process. So when you ask a question in the chat interface, we show you how the model is thinking through the problem, what sources it's referring to, how it's trying to solve the problem. And because you can see all of this in the UI, you can validate that the model has selected a solution approach that is suitable for your problem, your organization, and respects the governance and controls that you have already established. Next, we use grounding to make sure the hallucinations are reduced, and there are two ways that we approach this. The first is through citations. So if you're trying to use an existing knowledge base that contains information about your organization, that information is used by the agent so that when you see an answer, you also see a link to the document where it has retrieved this information. So you can confirm that it's leveraging the right document. And we also have something called the verified query repository. This is a way where subject matter experts can use their knowledge to load into the semantic model. So when the model does its thinking, it's not necessarily thinking alone. It's leveraging facts established by SMEs that understand your organization to use the right approach to solve the problem. And finally, we found that customizing agent prompts through a bit of prompt engineering can drive behavior change as well. In Snowflake Intelligence, sometimes it's as simple as telling the agent, if you don't see an answer in the data that you're retrieving, let the user know that the information hasn't been found. This explicit guidance helps the model understand how to respond. So it understands that going with the safe, I don't know, is much more valuable than making up something that sounds plausible for the end user. And this offers an opportunity for data teams to work to add missing data, enrich metadata for assets that are already in your enterprise data sets, and you have fewer decision makers using bad or partial information to make any decisions. Now, we've got a case study that we've published, and we're starting to see success from customers who've adopted these features. We've got a public case study from the digital sports platform Fanatics, who have been using Snowflake Intelligence. And what's been great for them is that they've been able to bring billions of data points across different systems to better understand their customers. Snowflake Intelligence is now the chat interface that makes it possible for teams to build and use AI agents for customer insights, because instead of waiting for days for analysts to produce reports, different teams are now able to self-service, find the information that they quickly need directly from the AI agent, and they've been making faster and better decisions that helps them grow their business. Closer to home, Snowflake does use Snowflake Intelligence in-house through an app that we call Raven. Raven is used by almost all employees at Snowflake. So we've got 6,000 internal users and about 1,000 daily active users using it to answer questions about Snowflake features, things that are on our roadmap, questions about opportunities, deals, and sales cycles. And we have the ability to bring in different tables with a complex data model of 50 tables. So we can say that it works at enterprise scale. We've got a net promoter score of 90%, and most of our users are pretty happy with it. We actively use it every day to find the information that we need to help our customers and partners use the product better. And I think it's just a great story about how we've been using the platform, providing feedback internally so that we can build a better product that can help organizations like yourselves do more with Snowflake. So with that, we're at the end of the presentation, and I hope that this has given you a better understanding of how Snowflake is making AI agents more accessible to organizations. And I'm pleased to say we've been working closely with many of these, with Pilbara Group, to leverage many of these capabilities into their offerings so that you get the exact same experience when you use their products within your organization. With that, I'll hand over back to Lee then.
Excellent. Thanks, Harish. And I will just share mine presentation. So when that pops up, eventually, you see those slides? Yep. So just to summarize what Harish was saying, and in fact, I need to shout out to Grant Barr from RMIT, who raised these practical AI guardrails that we're actually working on now with the solutions that we're developing. So as Harish said, AI loves to make stuff up. So if we can get it to let us know if it doesn't know the answer, just tell us it doesn't know. If it's got low confidence in the answer that it's producing, and also show us you're working. And in fact, Adam will be able to show you that in the live demo as well. That's the thinking that comes with it, and also those verified queries, which are very important in the background, and also show us your sources. So if you get data from somewhere, tell us where you get that data from, so that all these things, as we're saying, the human in the loop, so the human can actually go and verify all those things and make sure they're all true and correct. And the solutions that we're currently working on, one is the Pilbara Intelligence, which uses a Snowflake Intelligence and goes directly to those universities who have got Pilbara Insights models right now, so you can interrogate it and use it like your own personal analyst. And the other one is the benchmarks, which I will hand over to Adam to take you through right now.
Thank you, Lee.
Stop presenting that. Yep, should be all yours now.
Try and present mine. hope it's working.
Slowly. Yeah, for some reason it takes a while to
Yes.
to pop up. There it is. Yep, got it.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, I'm going to talk about one of our newest products that we've been developing, which is the Pilbara Benchmark Portal. So I'm hoping the demo gods are on my side. So at the end of this, I'll be doing a live demo, and we'll go in and actually have a go at the Pilbara Intelligence, which is part of the benchmark. So what is the Pilbara Benchmark Portal? So it's a secure area where we have all the benchmarking data that we get from our participating universities. It has all those controls that Suresh was talking about. So we're using the SSO, institutional SSO access. So only our clients can access that data. And also then there's the row level security. So you'll only be able to see the data that you can access through that. And that's all based within the Snowflake system. The whole thing of it is that we can then show your university versus the sector. So where does the data come from? We've been working with universities for 15 years almost, and we've been collecting that data from those universities that have wanted to be part of the benchmarking. So they built their Pilbara Insights model, and then we can use that as a consistent across the sector to pull back that information. So we have around about 4 years worth in the benchmarking at the moment, with the 12 universities that have agreed to be part of the benchmarking, and that's over 100 million rows of data that we then have access to within that benchmarking. So I just thought I'd show the Pilbara methodology for our insights models. So this is a quick snippet of what we use in that underlying data and the underlying model that then gets put in through to the benchmarks. So we use a whole heap of different drivers to send the costs and revenues through our model. And then we produce those results at the end of it, which are then exported and put into the benchmarking data. And those results mean that we can get a whole heap of different measures and dimensions that we can then use to actually do the benchmarking. So here is sort of showing some of the core ones that we have within the benchmarking data. So there's like delivery hours and cost per FSOL. We have FSOL per academic FTE as well. So, and then we're even looking at the percent of professional salary in the expense. At the moment, the benchmarking data only includes the expense side, but we're working on trying to bring in the revenue so we can actually look at then the whole margin. As far as then the what you can then select it on, we've got in this client version of the benchmarks, we have the 4-digit FOE. So the field of education, the degree level, whether it's a bachelor, sub-bachelor or postgraduate, and then the year. And from those, then we can do a selection of those to actually interrogate the data. And as Lee was saying, one of the things that we're working on with the AI is the Pilbara Intelligence. So we've tried to integrate Pilbara Intelligence into this tool, into the benchmarking tool. And that's using the Snowflake underlying technology that Haresh was talking about. So we use a lot of the features that he was talking. So verified queries and the RBAC controls. This allows the data to be interrogated with natural queries. So it's very easy to build up a really good report or interrogate that data just using that natural language. And we'll do a demo of that in a few minutes. So using the portal, we've got sort of 4 main pages that once you're in there. So there's a summary page, which is a fast way of looking at your university against the sector. We have the trends, which looks at the patterns over time, where you can select what dimension or measure you want to look at and look at it over a time. And that also then compares you to the sector. Any outliers or the variations, how far away from the sector are you? And then finally, we have the Pillar Intelligence, which is the natural language. So what I might do is actually stop sharing this and go into the application itself and try and do a live demo.
All fingers are crossed.
Okay, sharing the screen.
Yep, can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to sign in using my single sign-on. So it's loading the benchmark data now, which is good. Okay, so once we've loaded in, we're logged in now. We'll see at the top who we're signed in as and what university we're signed in. So we're using Insights University, which is our demo university. We've sort of tried to make it a middle of the road sort of university. So, but it's only got 2024 data in there at the moment. So when we look at the Trend Explorer, it will just look a little bit, it will just show a dot rather than a line, but we can show you what it should look like. So the first page here is just introduction, just talks about the things I've just mentioned in the presentation, where the data come from, how is it protected, that sort of stuff. Next page is notes and methodology. So this one actually goes into a bit more detail on the methodology. And one thing we have here as well is this diagram here that shows how your university compares in some of the differences. So we build these Pillar Insights models, but every university has their own little tweaks and own things about how they do their modeling. So this just gives you an idea of how your university compares to the other universities. We have the glossary. So here, just some glossaries, some of the wording that we're using throughout the tool, and then the measure definitions. So a definition of actually what each of those measures are. So it gives you sometimes it gives you the formula for it as well. So if we log into the summary page, so it gives you a little bit of insight at the top. Here it's telling us what the filters are that we're actually looking at. So here we're looking at mathematical science for bachelor's in 2024. Then we can see where you sit for each of the measures that are in the system. You can see your performance in the blue here against the sector, and then we can see the delta between the median as a percentage or a value. So if we look at the cost for ESSOL, so the median is 16,904. Our university is sitting at 15,000. So we're below the sector, which is pretty good for this university. But also we can see that we're not right at the bottom, so we're not the cheapest and we're not the most expensive. So and we can change this, so we can actually go in and actually look at how we do as postgrads, and those figures will change instantly. So, and if we had multiple years, you would see you'd be able to select those different years. If we look at the Trend Explorer, so here we can then see the trend over time. So this blue line at the top is the maximum values from the sector. The red line at the bottom is the minimum. We can see our sector mean and our sector median. There is a little green dot here that says Insights University, and we can actually zoom in and have a look. That's where we would sit. So if this data had multiple years, you would see the line over the years, so you can see the trend. You can also then click on the show the numbers, and it'll actually show you the actual numbers. So here we're looking at unit instance. We can change this and look at the cost per FSOL. And we can see the numbers have changed and where we sit just below the mean, but not the lowest. Then we have the outliers page. So this outliers page just shows for each of the FOEs based upon the filters that you've selected, where the university sits, whether they're above or below, and the percentage against the sector mean as well. And then finally, we have the Pilbara intelligence. So this is, like we said, based upon the Snowflake intelligence. We're using the API from Snowflake for this. So we get to use all of the great features they have already built in within their tool. So we might just ask it a question. So we're going to ask it, what explains the differences in our cost per FSOL versus the sector for agriculture? So when I click on that, first thing it's going to do is it says it's thinking. And it says this question looks similar to a verified query. So it's actually already recognized that we actually have a verified query in there, and it's going to start to use that verified query. So it'll go through and it will show all of its thinking and what data it's pulling back from that thinking before at the end it'll actually do a full analysis, which it's doing now. So we can see that it's showing, that it's found 2 different FOEs under the agriculture, and it's so the lower cost, more efficient delivery, higher staff to student ratios, less intensive practical labs. So it's gone through and it's actually taken those data from the benchmarking, and it's then started to analyze that data and actually do some proper analysis and give us some actual useful results. Might try another question as well, which is how does the bachelor level disciplines compare to the sector? So what will happen as well is with when you're logged in as your own university, it will pull back results that are based upon your university versus the sector as well. So in here you'll say it's saying it's pulled back data for the client university. In this case, it's Insights University, and then it's going to compare those to the sector. So as you can see, it's quite a useful tool for actually building up the reports. So this is now will be accessible to all of our clients that have participated in the benchmarking exercises.
Yeah, and the AI side is quite powerful as well. Well, there goes my lights. I'm being environmentally conscious here. Being able to ask it a wide range of things. I've actually got it to write blog posts for me, to do reports out of the system, to do justifications for new academic programs, to analyze growth in student numbers over time. So there's a wide range of things that we can actually use it for. So does anyone have any questions? And there is a, did you want to show something else? Yep.
Yeah, just sorry, Lee, I just want to just show that we actually have a preview version of the benchmark tool that is available. So this one has only 21 to 23 data, so it doesn't have the latest data. It has only to the broad FOE, so 2-digit FOE, and it has a limited amount of measures, and doesn't compare obviously to any particular university, but it does show you sector numbers, and it does have the ability to have the Pilbara intelligence in it as well. So you can still just register for that. You can go to that preview.pilbarabenchmarks.com, and there'll be a registration form, and we'll send out a key for you to access that, and then you'll be able to go in and have a look at the tool. But if you're a client, then you can talk to us, and we can look at how to get you onto the full version.
And we curate, so we curate all access to these benchmarks as well. As Adam said, they'll need to actually register and use a key to actually get in. Question from Leontine, Adam. So is this based on the transparency in higher education costing definitions or the full financials?
So it is based on a full model, but we did use the basis of it based upon the transparency, but it is the full model data. So yeah, it's the measures we picked out were ones that were sort of based around what the transparency costing was after, but it's still using the full model.
And any other questions from anyone? Just you can raise your hand or start talking if you've got any questions for anyone. Fred.
Hello. Is there any consideration of agreement, going forward? Like if another uni said, we agree for Wollongong to see our data and they can see, and vice versa, that sort of thing?
Yeah, if you want to actually share real data between universities.
Oops, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, in effect.
Yeah, I mean,
or know which university you're looking at.
Yeah, if there's a mutual agreement between institutions, then we're more than happy to facilitate that. Yeah, have you got any in mind there, Fred?
No, I'm just putting it out there because as somebody who goes and provides this, the question always is, who's in this group?
Yep.
And then, it's hunt and peck and blah, 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 making guesses and so forth.
Yep.
So I'm just throwing it out there because I know it goes down that track pretty quick.
Yep. Yeah, and all of this data is your data, so the university's data. So we only do what the universities want, and make sure that we manage access to it very carefully. Yes, and Simon's asked that some comparisons between regional and metro would be good as well.
Yeah, and it's something that we've definitely been thinking about. The issue is we've got to make sure that the benchmarks would be staying anonymous, and also that we have enough universities in those areas to actually make the benchmarks worthwhile.
And also whether, because I know there are the groups as well. So there's the Australian Technology Network, there's the Regional Universities Network. So if there are institutions within those networks that want to share more data or have their own specific network benchmarks, then that's something that we can look at as well. Any other questions from anyone? And I'm pretty sure that we can share. Shaji, Harish, are you guys okay to share those slides that you presented today?
Yep, can you read?
Yep.
Yes, I'll share that afterwards. And if you've got any other questions when I send that out, and you'll also get the link to the recording as well. But just quickly, another one from Fred. Yes, we are in the 21st century. Harish, did you want to just have a bit of a discussion about the if AI doesn't know the answer, what you can do within Snowflake?
Yep, can do, Lee. And I think that's a point that's been coming up in multiple customer conversations. Everyone starts with an AI agent. We see really fast adoption across the team, and then there's always this concern: can I really trust it? Like, it sounds too good to be true. So the way Snowflake manages that today is when you create an agent, In the UI, you get a box that can control the system prompt for the agent itself. This is where you can give it custom instructions to help it understand how to approach questions, what it should respond to and what it shouldn't respond to. So sometimes it's just a bit of prompt engineering to say, don't, if this information is not accessible, try and find it somewhere else. And if you still can't find it, explicitly tell the user that this information isn't here. Because this guides some of the thinking process when these models try to fetch information and throw results back to the user. There is a bit of trial and error with the prompt engineering to get it right. And I think that's where we work with Adam and Lee to make sure that Pilbara gives you that complete experience where all of that is managed for you on your behalf. So you can just get the answers that you need with you.
Thank you very much. And Adam, did you want to actually just type that or copy that URL into the chat?
Of course.
That will go to everyone as well. And if you want to sign up for that private preview, so as Adam said, it's not the full benchmarks. It's a subset, and it's only the 2-digit field of education, but it gives you a feel for what data is available and how you can use it. And it's got the AI capability in there as well, so you can ask it questions and see what it says. Now I have, and Adam's just posted that URL in the chat that you can get access to, and I think that. So, there are any other questions at all from anyone? No more questions. So, anything else from our presenters at all before we wrap up? Nope. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this session, and hope you all have a great holiday, great Christmas, and we will see you next year when we kick off more of these webinars. So, thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.